Hi everyone. In this particular session, we are going to talk about very briefly on payers uh, fraud, waste, and abuse process. You know, what should be the payers fraud, waste, and abuse detection process as a future step where it they will not go for pay and chase, rather it will be a prospective detection system. So, to be able to understand this process, let's go through with the revenue cycle management process and the payment cycle management process on a very high level, so that we can understand where the fraud, waste, and abuse detection system can fit in. So, when we talk about revenue cycle management process, it starts from the patient scheduling and registration, where typically a patient calls to a doctor's office, and that its demographics and patient entry and certain other information has been collected, and patient is scheduled for an encounter with the provider. Uh, at the point of encounter, documentation of services provided happens, and the assignation of CPT and ICD codes to determine the charges happens. See, once these CPD and ICDs and charges are determined, all of the vital information goes into a software, which is typically you know practice management software. That particular software generates claims, to be electronically transmitted. They are, if it's a doctor's office, typically a CMS 1500 claim would be generated and sent to clearing houses. From clearing houses, claims are sent to uh, uh, payers to get adjudicated, and finally payments can be made. There is another process of receivable management and collection. So all of the unpaid claims where follow-ups are needed, and appeals are needed, and the receivables, the claims which are in process. So all of the receivables have been managed now, receivable management and collection process, and then they have certain customer support and services to kind of uh, have connections between multiple multiple stakeholders. On the payer side, when they receive the claim is received typically in a EIDI format or maybe a paper format, um, you know, where OCRs would come into the picture, and they will make fit it for adjudication. And in payer process, adjudication system runs typically, have facets as a adjudication system. They have adjudication audits, a lot of things. Grouper, pricer happens before the payment has been determined, and you know after the whole adjudication process and running the audits, claims payment or decision whether to pay or deny a claim happens. So within this whole process, where we are talking about payer, within this whole process, typically the fraud, waste, and abuse system which are nowadays implemented is pay and chase kind of a model, where payer pay the claims and then they chase for it, and which is actually a pain in terms of recovery, because you get to invest a lot of dollars to kind of get the recovery, and most of the times, um, the dollar that you spent in recovering the claims becomes too high, that payers typically leave certain fraudulent or abusive claims to get recovered, because the cost of recovery becomes high. But there are smaller amount of claims. I mean, smaller per claim amount, but the volume of the claims are too large. And typically, for those type of claims, you should have a prospective detection system, where before the payment is made, you kind of determine, okay, these claims are being fraudulent or appears to be fraudulent, and or maybe as you abusive, or maybe a waste. If you can have a system which can intelligently and prospectively determine that thing, it will be good for payers. They can save a lot of money. So prepayment fraud detection is the future step. how typically it would happen. That you know it will be like you receive a claim, you do the claim adjudication, you are doing the processing, but before the payment, fraud detection and alert generation happens, and you kind of stop the claims and you pay it. Uh, Another process is while it's a concurrent process. While you are doing the adjudication, you start your fraud detection and alert generation engines to be running simultaneously. You create alert and manage alert management and investigation, and then you do complete the adjudication processing, and finally you set it aside those claims which turns out to be fraudulent and or maybe abusive, and you pay the rest of the claims. The claims which are set aside as fraudulent or abusive would go to special investigator units, investigation units, where typically RNs and AHIMA certified coders would be working to ascertain whether these claims are fit for recovery, not in fact recovery, but these claims are good for payment and all, whether the additional information is required in terms of the medical documentation, so that they can read the documentation, they can go into the payers databases, identify connections, and finally decide whether to pay or not. So excuse me. So overall, that's a very high level view. If you really want to have that type of prospective detection system implemented into your client side, to let us know. We are a team of good technology people, statisticians, SAS programmer, data scientists, and we have intelligent prospective fraud and waste and abuse detection system. So do call us for a demo. Thank you.